Welcome, everyone, to the Inspirational Business Women Show. This is your host, Virginia Parsons, and today we're going to be talking about reprogramming your known zone for success, featuring Nancy Mueller. So hold on to your hats. We'll be get starting in just a moment. I'm going to play you I'm going to play you the preview first. So we'll be right back. Here we go. Welcome, everyone. This is Virginia Parsons, your host, and I'm looking forward today to giving you a wonderful interview with none other than Nancy Mueller. You already saw what we're going to be talking about is reprogramming your known zone. I'm very excited about this because it has everything to do with being a successful entrepreneur. We all know that we carry and wear a lot of hats as an entrepreneur and a small business person. And so it's really important that the topic that we're talking about today, reprogramming your known zone for success, is something you understand clearly because it can make a big difference in your success. Thank you all for being here. I know your time is valuable, and so I appreciate your taking the time to learn this information. Also, if you find this information important and valuable to you, please pass it on. There is a share link. You can pass it on so other people can join us either live or via replay. Let us know who you are and where you're hanging out from. We'd appreciate knowing that you're here. I know we have live viewers, but we also have a lot of people that join us in the replay, and I want to acknowledge you as well and know that you all can comment in the comment section. Give us your thoughts, your responses, and your questions for Nancy. She'll be joining us in just a moment. But first, I want to let you know that today's show is sponsored by Hangout-Marketing.com, where I have created a brand new and updated live stream and Hangout marketing assessment for you. Now, this assessment is designed for you to realize what your strengths are and where you might need some improvements in using all these different live stream platforms to brand, grow, and market your business. So if you'd like to take advantage of it, it's my gift to you. All you have to do is text the word success to 775-800-4179. And if you're from out of the country, you can also go to hangout-marketing.com and you'll be able to pick that assessment up there. Now, for some of you, you might even qualify for a very special, what I call Shine Strategy session with me, where you and I will sit down and really look at your business and how you can start using these live stream platforms more effectively to grow your business. So take advantage of that. It will only take you a couple minutes. All right, let's get to the meat of the interview today. I'm going to be featuring Nancy Mueller. She is a Mastering Your Beliefs mentor. I love that. Mastering your beliefs mentor, helping you make sure that the beliefs that you carry aren't interfering with your success. And here's what we're going to be talking about today around this known zone that she'll tell you more about. We're going to be discussing transforming your beliefs that sabotage your success. Do you know that we all do carry beliefs that undermine and interfere with how successful you could be as a business owner? Well, Nancy's really going to touch base on that and help you understand how important it is to get in touch with those sabotaging beliefs and transform them. So she's also going to be talking about the practice of releasing resistance, because I know there is resistance that's carried around these known zone beliefs, and you need to get rid of those so that you can move forward and be all that you want to be. So we'll take a look at that. And finally, moving from victim to victorious. That's right. Because when you really take care of these unknown zone, or I should say, Nancy calls them known zone. I think sometimes they're unknown zones. We'll talk about that too. But when you take care of that, you're going to put yourself in a position to move out of the old victim mode into being victorious and becoming all you can be. So I want to thank you all for being here. And Nancy, why don't you come on in, unmute yourself, and say hi to our audience.
All right. Thank you, Virginia. I really appreciate you inviting me today to come and be with you and share with your audience and help me share this message, because I think it's so important.
I do too. And, you know, we talked about this prior to the interview, how important these belief systems are and how much they get in the way. And oftentimes we just don't know it because we're acting out of habit, as you would say. So before we get into that and how you can work with those sabotaging beliefs and transform them, I think people would love to know a little bit about you, your background, how you came to be someone who is a belief mentor, and you know, just maybe if there was some kind of defining moment in your life that moved you from where you were to where you are today. I know they like to hear about those things. So go ahead.
All right, thank you. And I love that when you say where I was to where I am today, because whenever I hear that term, I always think of Jack Canfield. And I think that there are, I always love to give credit to two things that are most high on my priority right now for where I am today. And it's the work that Jack Canfield does, being introduced to that, and martial arts. Ever since I was in the 6th grade, I wanted to study martial arts. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that the opportunity came about. And when I say the opportunity, of course, I'm taking full ownership of that. It means that I chose not to do it before that for some reason or another. You know, I had to get to a point where I could believe in myself enough that, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. And the martial arts for me, it was just transformational. It was so amazing. And the work that I was introduced to with Jack Canfield, it was in the early 1990s. I got a hold of a cassette tape that he had out on self-esteem. And I couldn't even tell you how I got a hold of that, but I remember listening to it over and over and over. And I would be in the car and I would, you know, play it, and I would be in the house and I would play it, because there was the message. I received the message newly. I heard the information newly every single time I listened to it. And why that was so important to me was because I didn't have much belief in myself. I mean, I really, based on where I come from, there wasn't a whole lot of motivation for me to think that I could do, be, or have anything. And it wasn't until I had children of my own that I started realizing, hey, a better life than I had. If I want to be a better mother than the mother I had, I need to start working on me. And it's interesting because a lot of times we think somebody else needs to change, but the fact is we need to change. We need to make the changes in ourselves. So it was my why was my daughters, and I wanted to be the best mom that I could be. So of course, my belief was if I choose to do everything opposite of the way my mother did, that I would be the perfect mother. But that's not the case, because it's not just about making different choices than my mother made. It's also understanding that everything that happened in my home while I was a child growing up in that home, I learned things. I intuited things. I learned how to speak or not speak, when to speak up, when not to speak up. So everything that I was doing and the choices that I was making as an adult was coming from these beliefs that I intuited from childhood. If I say this, it will be okay. If I say that, it'll be funny. It'll break up the monotony. If I say this, it'll make someone angry. So you kind of learn to live within parameters. And then we don't even realize that we take those parameters with us from childhood into adult. And one of the ways that I like to explain that is thinking about the brand of toothpaste. Maybe you used a certain brand of toothpaste when you were growing up. So you brush your teeth, you just know that's your ritual. You go upstairs, you get the toothbrush, you get the toothpaste, you brush your teeth, you're done, you did it. But when you grow up then and you move out on your own and you go to the store, unless someone introduces a different brand of toothpaste to you, you probably don't even think about it. You just reach for the brand you've always reached for because that's your belief. That's your belief around that ritual that you do. And then someday someone can say to you, why do you use that brand of toothpaste? And you say, well, I don't know. I always have. And while that might not sound like a big deal when it comes to your toothpaste, think about it when we're talking about your career, sex, relationships, your marriage, how you view your finances, how you view if you can move up the ladder or if you have to stay where you are. When you realize that every choice you make is based on what you believe to be true, and every belief that you have is based on a feeling, because every belief has a feeling attached to it. So if we go back to that example about the toothpaste, maybe you get this feeling like, yeah, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm doing a good job, I'm keeping my dental hygiene happy, and I don't know, whatever it is that you say to yourself when you're brushing your teeth. But there's a feeling that goes along with it, that you're taking care of yourself. So those feelings are also attached to every other belief that you have. So if you're struggling right now, maybe you're struggling, a big one is weight. People are always talking about trying to get healthier and trying to lose weight. Well, what is your belief around that? Because it's not about willpower. I would like if people take away nothing from this interview except what I'm going to say right now. It's not about willpower. Please give yourself permission to stop beating yourself up that you don't have enough willpower over whatever it is that you're trying to succeed at. Because if you're trying to do X, whatever that is, get healthier, have higher finances, whatever it is, build better relationships, you have a belief around that. And if there's a belief somewhere intermingled in there that it's not going to happen, or that it's difficult, or whatever that belief is that's holding you back, every choice you make is going to be pulled in that direction. And because it's pulled in that direction, you wonder why you keep doing the same thing or making the same choices. And isn't that the definition of insanity, when we keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results?
Well, yeah, it definitely is. And I think that, you've really hit on some stuff right from your own experience in childhood that I think are kind of important. And so I have to just back you up for a minute and then we'll go forward.
Sure.
Back up to go forward. And just summarize that, you started with your big why when you made a decision to make a shift in your life, and you had studied Jack Canfield and then gone into martial arts, was all around being a better mother for your daughters. Mm-hmm. So you already had a belief that was around your current mother that was not good for you. And you said, I'm not, and the interesting thing is you went the whole other side of the pendulum and said, I'm going to do everything the opposite, which probably wasn't the best way to move forward either. Because, you're not looking at what was maybe out of that relationship that there was good from. You were just throwing it all out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know that people, when they think about, I've got beliefs, I got sabotaging beliefs from childhood, well, that I don't even maybe know exactly about. You had some beliefs around your mother, but a lot of people don't know these things. And so how do people know how to sort out what is a sabotaging belief that is interfering versus maybe just a fear of stepping out of their comfort zone to move into the next phase of their life and business. Since we're talking to people who are business women, business and men. We love our men too. But let's address that, because first of all, how do you even know you have such a thing going on?
Well, let's take the women in like C-level executives in the corporate world and leaders of industry. You're a leader. People look to you for answers. And while you may have the answers for the job, if that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't worry about, did you make the right choice? Are you dealing with people the right way? Are you pulling out of people what you need to pull out of them so that they can be doing their best work? So this all rolls downhill. So whatever is stopping you, whatever you go home with at night and obsess about the most, that's the thing that you want to start taking a look at. Whatever at the end of your day feels like you didn't accomplish it. Maybe it's you don't have enough time. Maybe you didn't, whatever it is that you find yourself obsessing about at the end of the day, or maybe not obsessing. Maybe you look at it this way, you beat yourself up over it, or you feel like you're a failure because you didn't get everything done on your to-do list. So it's very important to, first of all, be able to go within. And one of the things that is very, very important in this whole process is to actually give yourself permission to take a look at these things. Because what happens when we are women of strength, we're out there and we're leading and we're making things happen. So our probably most conscious thought is that we're strong, we can do this, I've got it, it's all right. But sooner or later, we have to give ourselves permission to just kind of come down off of that. And so to take a look at it, it feels like we're being weak. And we don't want to be weak. So whenever a feeling or a thought or an emotion of weakness, or maybe weakness, just wherever you're faltering, it doesn't have to, whatever your term is, wherever you're faltering, we don't want to look at that, because what do? We say, no, wait a minute, I'm not going there. I've worked really hard to get where I am. I know I can do this. I've proven I can do this. And we don't even give ourselves permission to just step back a moment and go within. And when you understand the going within process and how important that is, and how it's really going to help it, and then take a look at it, now you start to see where that chink is in your armor, where that maybe little break is in the armor, or the link in your armor. And you start to see, oh, okay, I can take a look at that. And it could be something as innocent as, at the end of the day, you didn't eat right. You're hungry and you didn't take the time to eat properly. And you're getting after yourself, or maybe you go home and you eat too much, or you eat the wrong things because you're so hungry. And then you justify it with, hey, but I got that meeting done and I really rocked that client today. And, we give ourselves so many reasons about why we don't have to stop and take care of ourselves. But then sooner or later, something happens where we start to struggle. And when we start to struggle, what do? We don't want to look internally. And so we work harder. That brings the struggle on. So you can see where it's that constant catch-22 of struggle, wanting more success, struggle, wanting more success. So being able to go within and understand what your belief is around that is the key to breaking it all open for you.
So what I'm getting from this is that you really have to pay attention to your own mind chatter. The when you're beating yourself up because you didn't feel that you did it good enough, or you didn't get enough accomplished, or you got too distracted, or whatever the thing is that might be beating you up, or you might be beating yourself up about, or maybe losing sleep about at night. Right. So what you're saying, if I'm following you correctly, because I want to make sure this is clear to our viewers, is that when you determine or you realize that you've got a negative feeling inside you about something, that it seems like it's just interfering and getting in the way of what you really want to be doing, you need to, rather than trying to distract yourself and go off and work harder, as you said, at something else, you need to sit back with that feeling, whether it's guilt or not good enough, or, didn't get enough done, or didn't miss my goal objectives, or whatever it might be around business as an example. And you've got to go inside and get in touch with those feelings.
Exactly.
To start with, so that you can take a look at it. You can't take a look at something you're not willing to acknowledge even exists, right?
Absolutely. And it could be something like maybe you're given a presentation and someone makes a comment and it really hits you the wrong way. And you might have aced the presentation, but all you think about is that one negative comment. And so that's what we take in for the rest of the day. We don't think about all of the positives. We're constantly beating ourselves up over what we didn't do right, or we should have gone left when we went right. And instead, if you could learn to start taking a look at your successes and say, wow, I really have been doing a good job, because it's my belief that something that pulls you down, struggle, is habit, but it's also, not only is it in the known zone, and I'm going to explain that in a minute, but it's something that pulls you in that you don't even realize, because it's familiar. It's not comfortable, but it's familiar. And whenever we're moving out of familiar territory, we get uncomfortable, and that brings on fear. And so we want to shy away from fear because it's unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. And I hear so many people say, well, I need to be in control. I need to control this situation. I need to control the outcome of this meeting. And it's so silly, really, because we're not in control of anything ever, ever, ever. Now, that doesn't mean that we just throw caution to the wind and say, whatever happens, happens. Of course, we can't do that in the business world. Virginia, if you hadn't put all the work into doing this interview today and everything that goes on behind the scenes, and you just said, whatever happens, happens. I mean, what would this turn out like? So it's really important that we do the work, but we also have to understand what is pushing us out of our level of comfort. I don't really like to call it a comfort zone, because there really aren't a lot of people that are comfortable in their comfort zone. I don't even know how that coin got phrased. But what I term the known zone, I think it's a really good catchphrase, because what happens is we make choices based on what we know. What we know is based on what we believe. I believe this to be true. I believe the sun is going to come up tomorrow. The sun is going to set tonight. I believe that to be true. So what is your daily mantra? What is going through your head day after day after day that you believe is going to be true? I believe I have to wear a 3-piece suit to work in order for people to take me seriously. I believe that to be true. Okay, so if you believe that to be true, and then you see someone else who's really dynamo, or just a dynamic person in their field, but then you look at her and you say, you're judging because your belief is that in order to be taken seriously, you have to have a 3-piece power suit on. But she might have flower in her hair and no makeup, or, and be just as equally as powerful with her message. But so the thing is this is another thing too. What are you judging? Pay attention to what you judge. When you're judging something in someone else, it's usually something that you don't want to take a look at in yourself. And that's a key factor to think about. So when you're judging something, why am I judging that? Or when you're struggling with something, why am I struggling with that? The first question, if you can ask yourself, is, what is my belief around this? Why am I doing this? And of course, the first thing that's going to come to your head is because I want to exceed, I want to succeed, I want to excel, I want to be top in what I'm doing. But the thing is that when you can let go of that, that's just like the surface layer. Now let's go down another layer and ask yourself, okay, but what do I believe around that? Why am I believing that? Why do I believe I have to be the first one in the office and the last one to leave? Why am I believing that everything has to be crossed off my to-do list before I can stop at the end of the day? See, it's just taking a look at all of these. And so many times we don't want to do that, especially because as women, we feel like we're in competition and we have to carry the right handbag or the right clothes, wear the right clothes, or go to the right hangouts, or whatever it is we think we need to do, drive the right car, live in the right neighborhood. Why do we have these beliefs? What is your belief around it? And how much less struggle would be in your life if you give yourself permission to take a look at what's in your known zone?
Great information. I typed in the comment section what you just said. When you judge something, it's probably something you don't want to take a look at yourself.
Absolutely.
I think that's really well said and worth reminding, since we're talking about the mind and mental attitude, reminding ourselves if we find ourselves judging, whoa, pause right there and say, what is it within me that I maybe need to take a look at? I think that's just great advice. Now, excuse me, I'm wondering, if you have a client come to you and they're coming because they feel that they're stuck in some way or they're struggling more than they'd like to, what kind of processes do you go through with them to help them uncover these areas that are sabotaging their success?
To pick a topic of being stuck, let's say I have someone come to me and she's having problems at work. She's maybe getting written up, or she's feeling like her job's on the balance. Maybe she's feeling like she's being judged all the time. So consequently, she is afraid to ask questions. Oh my gosh, people already think that I don't know what I'm doing. If I ask a question, then they're going to know I don't know what I'm doing. So this is a belief. This person believes that if she asks for help, she's going to be judged. And here's the thing to remember is when we are getting it in our head that someone is thinking a certain way about us or judging us in a certain way, usually that's not it at all. They're probably not even thinking about us. They're probably thinking about what they're going to cook for dinner that night. But we make this so huge in our head. And we can take that little, oh my gosh, I got written up and so I need to toe the line. And now you're afraid to move left. You're afraid to move right. You don't know what to do anymore. And it might not be getting written up. It might be that your boss had a talk with you and said, hey, that meeting that you gave, you weren't as strong as you normally are. Hope everything's going okay. You're not going to let anything jeopardize what you're doing here, are you? So you can see that all it takes is one little, one little comment or one little, just your day doesn't go right to just start this avalanche of thoughts. And the first person that I ever heard talk about this was Jack Canfield when he used to talk about the voice inside your head. And so it's not what someone says to you that's so important. It's what you say to yourself when that person stops speaking. So let's take relationships, let's say with your mom. A lot of women have, when I bring up this subject of relationships with their mom, I see them roll their eyes and you're like, oh, wow, my mom, you have no idea. And it's amazing that a mom can say one word or three words, or maybe just take a breath, and it could set you off in just this downward spiral because. And you think, my gosh, she didn't even say anything. I mean, it used to be when my mom would call me on the phone, all she had to do was take a breath and I would know how that phone call was going to go. And I would know, okay, this is going to be a 30-second conversation because I'm going to tell her I got to be running out the door. Or, okay, it seems like it's okay that I can deal with this. So see, as a child, you learn to pay attention to those feelings. There's feeling behind that. So it's interesting how so many women can be cut to the quick by something that their mom will say. And it could be something simple like, you're not going to wear that, are you? Okay, so what goes through your head after someone says, you're not going to wear that, are you? If you own it, if you love what you're wearing, if you're really just confident and empowered, and say, yeah, why? Whatever their opinion is, conceptual handicap. Let it go. If you're happy, thing. So I think that those rules that so many of us grew up with, rules about how to show up for work, rules about how to send out a resume, there's rules on everything. and learning what your belief is around the rule. Why is that your belief? Why do you think that that needs to stay in place in your life? And then pay attention to the feeling that crops up with that. And then, but you know what? There are a lot of people that don't want to really take a look at those feelings. And that's why we do things like, an excess of alcohol, drugs, retail therapy, exercise. We do anything to take our minds off of not feeling what's going on inside of us because we don't want to deal with it.
Well, it's just plain uncomfortable. So it's much easier to diverge in something that feels better.
I'm glad you said that it's uncomfortable, because let me tell you, if anyone thinks that working to push through this is easy breezy, it's like, I can do that on my own. No, it's work. It is work. It should be called coach working, not working with your coach. It should be called coach working, because you have to be committed. You have to be willing to be ready and say, okay, I'm going to take a look at this. And why would you want to be open and willing? Well, because you want your life to change. You're tired of struggling. If you're tired of struggling, this is a way to, I'm not going to say the way, even though I think it is a really important way, but I don't want to say the way. I don't want to be that arrogant.
Well, I think it's okay if you are that arrogant, because you believe in the work that you're doing. And
I have
when you believe in something you're doing, you know that you're going to be able to help people. That's
absolutely.
Real. So let's
I'm my biggest client, so why wouldn't? I mean,
yeah.
And it works. It works. Client after client after client, it works. So there's something there.
Of course. Let's get into a little more detail on what you call the practice of releasing resistance. Because, if you've been operating out of your known zone for your whole life, there's going to be resistance to making the change. One of the reasons is because it's uncomfortable. Another reason is because it is work. So let's talk about releasing that resistance and how you go about helping people with that.
Okay, well, I think the first step for releasing the resistance is, what do you believe? What is your fear around it? What's going to happen if you release the resistance? Because when we're holding on so tightly, if you hear someone say, or you find yourself saying, well, this is the only way I have to be in control. This is how I control the outcome. When you're using terms like that, you're probably in resistance. When you allow, okay, let's just naturally allow, let's feel through this. Let's see what's going to happen. And this is a really interesting concept for so many people, because they say, well, I have feelings. What are you talking about? And it's not about having feelings. It's about feeling your feelings. What are you feeling when it comes to something that you're resisting? And here's the bigger picture. You probably don't even know you're resisting it. Because what it usually looks like is, you'll hear people say, man, I really kicked butt there. I really nailed that. I really did that. We feel like we have to keep fighting. We have to be stronger. We have to push through, forge ahead. And when we're doing that, that's struggle. Life is not meant to be so hard. We should not have to push through so hard. So when we're struggling, that's resistance. That's a very good key, that you're in resistance. And so the next question to ask yourself is, okay, so what am I resisting? And it's very difficult to assess this on your own, because again, I'm going to go back to, you believe what we believe. We don't question what we believe. We don't question what's in our known zone. We don't question our habits. So for us to ask ourselves, why am I doing this? The answer would be, because I want to succeed, because I want to get ahead. And if that's the only answer that we can come to, the conclusion is, it must have just been a little blip. I'll have a glass of wine and I'll feel better and everything will be good. And that's what a lot of people do. They stop at that point of asking the question. And then when they can't come up with a different answer than they've always come up with, again, we're going to go back to doing what you've always done and expecting different results. They just feel that, it must not be a problem anyway. I'll just call my friend and we'll hang out and she'll make me feel better. So
okay. I wasn't ready for you to pause there, but that's okay. How do we take this to the next step, though? Because it's one thing to identify, it's another thing to deal with it and release it, which is what you were talking about.
Well, if you're not ready to work with a professional, then you can always talk to a friend. But here's the thing, when we talk to friends, we say, all right, look, I want to have a conversation with you and I need your honest feedback. What happens when you talk to a friend or a family member? They're going to give you feedback based on how they know you. So they have a known zone as well. And you have a known zone based on the relationship that you have together. So you really want to talk to someone who is going to give you some feedback that's going to be coming from another direction other than, first of all, commiserating. So many of us girls, we say, oh, I'm just going to go hang out with my girlfriends and I'm going to talk about this or that, or usually it's complain about this or that. And then what do our friends do? Oh, I know what you're feeling. Oh, yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I have that too. But we really don't get to the heart of anything. We talk, which is what women want to do. We want to talk. Of course, that helps us raise the serotonin level, which is really fabulous. And then we are feeling really great that we've got it all out. But then when we get home at the end of the day, or maybe 2 days later, we realize we're right back to where we were. And this is a good indication of, okay, something still hasn't broken free yet. You're still in a certain space that you haven't moved out of yet. And so it's recognizing that when you just keep getting that feeling like I'm not moving ahead, or I'm not getting to that next level, I don't understand what's holding me back. So definitely, sharing with friends, someone that you know and trust, and talking to them and just saying, no, there were times when I know that I've talked to people and say, so I'll just be really honest and say, if you have a conversation with someone that starts out like, I think I'm losing my mind, because it does seem like you're out of your mind, because you're thinking thoughts that you hadn't thought of or don't remember ever thinking of. And so it kind of seems out of character for yourself. And you think, whoa, I better keep that to myself or people are going to want to lock me up. So this is really good. This is a good sign. This means that you're stepping forward. You're going to the next level. So you can see where it's very important that you're able to talk to someone who can see you at that next level, who doesn't view you where you are right now. And that's the only way they can view you. Because people unwillingly or unwittingly pull us back down because they don't understand, well, wait a minute, if you're going up there, or so maybe it makes them look at themselves.
Okay. We were just losing you there for a second, so you're back.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that's an important point, that very often people who know you the way you are in your known zone are going to even subconsciously draw you back toward it if you're trying to raise yourself out of it. So It makes sense to talk to someone who's impartial, unbiased, and can give you a whole different perspective. Now, you had mentioned something about moving from a victim to victorious, and you had used an analogy, I think, about martial arts and how that resistance that we sometimes fight changing. We're struggling. Let's talk about that. And we're getting close to, we've got about 5 minutes left. So I want to make sure we get that topic in before we give everyone the gift that you have for them. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, this is something that I love talking about. In the martial arts, we have a technique called a Peri. And what it is when you have two equal opposing forces coming at each other and both are pushing the same, and it's one person, all they have to do is just step off and let the other person use their own force to go flying by. So when you think of that in a sense of if someone is saying something negative to you and you find that you want to resist, that you want to fight back or argue back, if you stop for a minute and give yourself permission to allow them to use their own words to just go over the other direction. So if someone says, I really thought that your presentation was lacking today. Instead of trying to justify why you think it was right on, if you would say something to them like, well, that's interesting feedback. Thanks for letting me know. You're not saying that that person is right. You're not agreeing with that person. You're just allowing that person's version and your version to coexist. And that's a very powerful way to feel victorious.
Yeah, and I think this goes very appropriately with our political climate these days.
Absolutely.
So much headbutting, and I keep thinking, why is there so much animosity around our political system today? I understand people are passionate, but I don't get the kind of energy that is put into it when I feel personally it could be put in other directions that would be much more beneficial to everyone. So you're just talking about just exactly that, rather than resisting because someone else's opinion or belief is different than yours. You're accepting that it's theirs, and you're not giving it more energy by resisting it. You're not giving it more power, because the harder you push against that power, the stronger you're actually making it.
Right. And it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. No doubt about it. So that's an easy way to become victorious. Do you have anything else that you want to share before we give people the link to your gift? Anything else? Any other stories or any other examples that you think people will find beneficial?
Well, it's interesting when you talk about victim mode. There are so many women who have had something in their past where they're feeling maybe shame around it, or something that they don't want to bring to the light. And I will tell you that when you can take a look at that and understand that that doesn't define you, that doesn't make who you are today. What happened in the past happened in the past. The past does not define you. What defines you are the choices that you make today. And when you make a choice based on a strong belief and an empowered belief, you'll find that you struggle less.
And that's what it's all about. Let's struggle less. Let's enjoy life a little bit more. Let's move to the next level and let go of these known zones that aren't doing us good. Now, we didn't talk about the known zones that are really powerful and positive, because those exist too.
Exactly.
In childhood, we get reinforcements that are both negative and positive. And what you're saying is that most of these known zones that we're operating from are established at a very young age, generally from 6 and under. So a lot of them, of course, as we said, people don't even recognize or aren't aware of on a conscious level. But I think it's also important to realize that the positive known zones that we have, we want to support and reinforce and give them more energy so that we struggle less and we don't end up in those places where we feel that resistance, that negativity, that self-doubt. I think that's all really important. Now, you have a wonderful gift. I'm going to put it up on the address up, and I also am going to post it in the link while you talk to people about what it is that you have for them that's going to help them get through this known zone issue. So go ahead while I put up the gift information.
Okay. Actually, it's just a simple series of questions that's going to help you step outside of your belief. If you answer these questions with an empowerment, like knowing, no, I really want something in my life to change. Even if you don't know or aren't sure what it is that needs to change, you just know that you're struggling. These questions can help you start to look at the choices that you're making in another direction. And then when you give yourself permission to say, all right, let me start looking at it from that angle. Let me start approaching the solution from this angle. It can really open doors for you. It can be a window of opportunity that you just didn't realize existed before you started asking yourself these questions.
Yeah, so the questions are important. And again, I've put it up here. You can go get the links to these questions and be able to find out a lot more from Nancy, how to, work within your known zone and get rid of parts of it that aren't working for you and reestablish and support the parts that are. Go to hmtips.com/Nancy Gift. And this is for also our iTunes viewers who are maybe listening rather than watching. It's hmtips.com/Nancy Gift. Okay, and we've got a couple of comments here that I do want to bring up. Cynthia, welcome. And she's saying connecting within was mentioned a couple of times. Besides mediation, I'm wondering if you're meaning meditation, Cynthia, rather than mediation. Besides mediation and journaling, what other recommendations do you have for self-reflection? Yes, she did say meditation.
Well, journaling is very, very positive, but I have some clients who just refuse. They don't want to journal. And the important part about journaling is that because you're using your hand, it's coming from your mind and you're using your hand to put it down on paper. There's a process that goes along through that I know we don't have time to talk about right now, but that's a very powerful thing, is journaling. But maybe if journaling is not your thing, record it. We all have smartphones with recording devices, and when something's coming up for you, record yourself. Another thing that I think is really positive is doing a selfie. Whatever you're feeling in the moment, if you're feeling really down and depressed and you just can't, you know what, take a selfie of yourself. You're just like, and then when you're feeling a little stronger, go back and look at that. These are all tools to be able to self-reflect and go within and say, wow, look at how I was feeling. Because it's just like looking at a photograph of yourself. You can look at any picture of yourself and pretty much go back to exactly how you were feeling at that moment. So it's a really powerful tool.
I have never thought of using a selfie for that. What a great idea, because once you've got the selfie, you're also going to be connecting that back to the feelings. Now, I would say once you process that and start to feel a little differently around that, whatever stimulated that emotion, that you better take another selfie of you responding differently in the known zone.
Yep. And this is why Facebook is so powerful. How many times do you see people, putting something, feeling frustrated, feeling scared, I'm at the emergency room. It's their version of journaling in the moment. And that's why this is so powerful. It's about getting it out of you and out somewhere.
Absolutely. And I just want to acknowledge Elaine. Great to see you here as well, Elaine, out of Maryland. And she loves the reference to the martial arts and that resistance that we have to think about. If we're resisting, how can we let that flow and not create greater resistance? So wonderful tips, wonderful ideas. I want to thank you all for being here today. So much valuable information. I guess I'm going to leave with my final thought is, when you notice that you have an unsettled, struggling, negative feeling going on, whether it's from someone's comment or something you didn't feel you did good enough, or whatever it might be that is really interfering with you being at your best energy, stop and take a look at it. And to me, I love the idea of taking the selfie and journaling as being a very good tool that you can use when you have to work through this on your own. But again, I think that we're just going to remind you that it's really hard to look at something differently when you're in it. So Absolutely. It really is helpful to have a mentor such as yourself that can really help you have a perspective that is unbiased, that doesn't know you from your known zone, and can help you let go of the negative programming that you may have experienced. It's none of your fault. It's just what happens with life when you're growing up, especially when you're young. So Nancy, again, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate it. And I hope that if you found that this information was valuable to you, please share it. Please put a post out on Facebook or share. There's links right here in the what you're viewing, and put it out there and let people know what you learned from Nancy's great information today. Nancy, thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you, Virginia. It's a pleasure.
Everyone, go out and have a terrific week, and we'll see you next week on the Inspirational Business Woman Show. Bye-bye now.